Welcome to A Meaningful Marketplace.
I'm Sarah Masoni from Oregon State University's Food Innovation Center, where I've helped countless dreamers launch their new food products. It's the science of taking a food delight from the kitchen to mass manufacturing and still keeping its great taste. That's what I do. I've been called the woman with the $1 million palate, although I haven't tried to cash that check yet. Listen in weekly for real-life stories.
I'm Sarah Marshall, owner of Marshall's Hot Sauce and author of Preservation Pantry, modern canning from root to top and stem to core. I love inspiring business owners to get started on their journey, encourage folks to be part of their local community, and I'm excited to help business owners tell their stories. Hello and welcome to the Meaningful Marketplace. We are here weekly to discuss the journeys of food entrepreneurs. We're glad you've joined us today to bring you stories of hope and inspiration. This is Sarah Marshall, owner of Marshall's Hot Sauce. Sarah Masoni is just getting back from a cruise, which we'll hear about when she comes back. So, just me today. We have been partnering with Prosper Portland to highlight Portland makers and all that they do. So, this series will be 6 episodes, and Michelle is our first guest. So I'd like to introduce you to Michelle of Olympia Provisions, making America's best charcuterie in Portland, Oregon. We're delighted to have you on the show today, Michelle. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
I'm stoked to have you because not only do I love your product, but I love you. And so I'm glad you're here to chat with us and tell us about all you do. We like to start at the beginning with all of our entrepreneurs. So tell us when Olympia Provisions started and your role in that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, technically it started in 1975 when I was born, but it's just because it's a family business. So when it really officially started was in 2009. So December 1st, 2009 is when we opened our doors. But I'll rewind just a little bit back from that because I think it's kind of important, just kind of how we started it and that. So my brother went on a European apprenticeship, a chef's apprenticeship, like 2000, and he came back after 5 years. He was only supposed to be there for 5 months. And it was supposed to be a cooking apprenticeship only, but luckily he burnt his hands on a French flat top, which luckily because they wrapped him up in marmot fat and they sent him to work with the town Jägermeister. And that's the guy that collects all the wild game. You have to check in all the wild game and they turn it into charcuterie. And he was just like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like he's like this craft and just like this no waste and just he fell in love with it. While he was doing this, was going to school for finance. And so we were both we're first generation Greek American. So we were very raised with this, like we had restaurant, like every Greek American, we had restaurants. Our dad made charcuterie. Like we were very much always makers. We make our own gum, our own wine, all this kind of stuff. Elias loved that part of it. I was like, I was like, can't we buy it? No, I love parts of it. And my dad always was like, you need to go to school, Michelle. Like you need to. So I definitely went that way. Elias stuck on the food route. When he came back, he didn't really come back. I begged him to come for a trip. And I was trying to get him to move, but he had heard that because the Swiss people think America's food's crap, which a lot of it is. And Elias was being like programmed that there's no good artisanal food in America. Like there's no good cheese makers, there's no good that. And so he was like, ooh, why would I move back to America? Like it sounds like it's a bunch of garbage food. But I was like, and I hadn't moved to Portland. And I was like, you know what you need to do? You should come for a visit. And so right when he got to Portland, I took him to the Portland Farmers Market.
Oh, my favorite place.
My favorite place. This is where Olympia Provisions was thought of. And so I was like, let's get a picnic. And he's like, oh my gosh, they have like Rogue Blue Cheese had a line. And he's like, is that real blue cheese? And he was kind of snotty about it. And I was like, you wait. And he's like, it's real blue cheese. And then he saw the salmon guy. And then like, there's also all the vegetable. Like he was like, this is really interesting. And then he's like, let's grab a picnic and sit down and eat. And so I was like, he's like, let's grab charcuterie. And I was like, yeah, no charcuterie at the Portland Farmers Markets. And he's like, what do you mean? In Europe, half of them are charcuterie. Like it's like half charcuterie, maybe some vegetables. And I was like, oh, sorry, not here. So we went over to City Market and I to grab America's best charcuterie. And we grabbed all this stuff and we sat down to have our picnic and we were eating it. And he's like, what is happening? What is this? This isn't, it's tangy. This isn't real mold. What is this on the outside of these salamis? What is with all these textures? He's like, this is really kind of gross. Like, what is happening? He's like, we should do this. I know how to make like real charcuterie. And I was like, you need to get a job because I was like, hello. At this point, I'm like the director of finance for Pacific Power. I was like, no, 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 move, but get a job here. And so he's like, but I really think we should open a charcuterie company because there's just none like that. So he got a job. He did get a job at Castagna and he started developing their charcuterie program, all this while being like, Michelle, let's do it. Let's do it. And I was like, Eli, no, no. And then finally I was like, oh my gosh, I'll give you a loan. How about I give you a loan to start? And then he's like, well, you're only giving me a loan because you don't believe in me. If you believed in me, he's very Greek. If you believe in me, you'd be my investor. And I was like, oh my gosh, fine, I'll be your investor. But it really, when we opened, it really was just going to be, we were in the Olympic Mills building and we were Olympic provisions. We were going to provide the provisions for that building. So we were just going to do PSU Farmers Market. We opened a cute little restaurant attached to it. And John Gorham at the time said he wanted some charcuterie for he wanted some chorizo for his restaurant. And Elias was like, oh, I'd love to make it. So then we had to become USDA. So we were Oregon's first USDA charcuterie location. Eventually, I was like, well, don't worry, Elias, I'm never going to quit my day job. Get me now. I was like, I'll never quit my day job. Like I was one of the odd ducks that loved corporate finance. And but after that first year, I entered his products into the Good Food Awards. And from pickles to all charcuterie categories. And he swept every category, including pickles, which is funny. And he's a good pickler. So people thought we were like this giant charcuterie company because we beat like the Criminellis, like we beat everybody. And so people started calling, being like, how do I, Whole Foods, Dean and DeLuca at the time, all those places, how do we get your products? How do we get your products? And I'm like, we have 500 square feet. Like there's no, can't even keep up with our farmers markets. So that's when I started to look for a new location. And so I found a 5,000 square foot. We opened another restaurant over there. And I wasn't going to leave my job at this time. This is like 2011. I was like, I'm not going to leave because, this isn't what I'm going to do. But then Elias is like calling me being like, hey, someone's calling for a wholesale application, da, 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 and all this, I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm trying to do, at this point, I'm CFO for another company. I'm trying to do both. And then I was like, what am I doing? I just got to go make this work with my brother. But it's been kind of amazing because it's like, I get to do the business side of it. He gets to do like his dreamy charcuterie world. And I do love hospitality and restaurant. It is our background that we grew up in. So it's like, I get the best of it and I get to work with my brother every day and I love it. Yeah. So we eventually moved, we have 57,000 square feet now. We are sold everywhere. It's kind of insane.
That's so wild. I think that when I think of your story, I just thought that you jumped on board right away and were like convincing him to start the business. That's the version of the story that I've heard, is that you wanted him to open this business with the knowledge he came back with.
No, I was reluctant. I watched my parents struggle so much because they had restaurants. My dad was also an inventor. I watched them struggle so much in, just like closing restaurants, opening, all that. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. It's nice that I had that clarity because I did get to go like learn all my business skills and then I get to bring it here. And so it was like, it worked out perfectly.
Oregon State University's College of Agricultural Sciences and the Food Innovation Center are proud sponsors of Meaningful Marketplace. With a mission to serve all Oregonians, we are committed to giving voice to those whose food and agricultural stories are not always heard. by providing access and opportunity for a more diverse and just food system, because food brings people together.
Do you think that when you make the decision to open a restaurant within the manufacturing space or connected to it, is that because of your financial background or is that because of your family's restaurant background? Or maybe both?
Restaurant. No,
Yeah.
I don't think I never financially. I have moments where I'm like, what? Why do you do this? I do love hospitality. I love the creation of restaurants, but they're just so hard and getting so much harder that it's like it never from a financial reason would I open a restaurant. And when I've had moments where I was like, I should close them, and I have closed a couple, quite a few. And I've always waited years, but mostly because like if the finance person would maybe like cut your losses, move on. But I love hospitality. I love the people in the restaurant industry. I love creating experiences for people, and they're just so hard. They're
They
so
are
hard.
hard, but I will say that you guys create some of my favorite restaurants in town. So even the ones that I have mourned loss over them closing because they've been my favorite places to
Yeah.
be, I understand why they,
Yeah.
you have to do what you have to do, but then I'm also very sad. It's like I loved Little Bitter Bar. That was one of my
Oh my
favorite
gosh.
places to hang out.
Same. That one hurt. That one hurt probably one of the most for me because it was also like my dream dining experience
Yeah.
too with Grand Amari,
Mm-hmm.
and it just was so hard to make it work because it
Yeah.
just bad corner location. It just struggled, and it was also it was definitely higher end, and it just yeah, that's a sad one.
Well, just in case our listeners don't know where your current open restaurants are, why don't we tell them?
The original Olympia Provisions, which is crazy, is turning 17 this year, is on 107 Southeast Washington. I have Alpenrausch for only 20 more days. I'm closing that location, and then I'll just be down to one restaurant, which is crazy. There was a time we had seven restaurants, but like our leases have come up at different places, and I'm just like, am I really going to sign up for another 5 to 10 years on a restaurant with as much as we have going on here? And I really do have to focus on this. Like my brother and I just have this moment where like we got to focus on the charcuterie world. What are we doing? Like this is like this is our biggest opportunity, and we're trying to change the conversation in food with that. And like there's just so much we're trying to do. And so we just made the decision. We're like, let's just focus on the Olympia Provisions restaurant and brand. And that's what we're doing.
Well, and even within that brand, you have so many different things that you make. So you've mentioned pickles, and then of course there is the many different kinds of charcuterie.
Oh, yeah.
So we
Yeah.
we should tell people about the different things that you make. And also, I didn't know when I was looking at your website that you have different subscription clubs that people can sign up for, like
I
a
mean,
salami of the month club or a charcuterie club. So let's tell people all about that.
yeah, so we are one of the only full charcuterie houses in America. And when I say that, it means we make every single thing that has our name on it. So a lot of people will make their salami, but they'll outsource their cooked products, or they'll make their sausage and outsource something. For us, it's been really important to control the quality and like how you treat your workers. And like, when you outsource stuff, it's a little bit harder to maintain that control for us. And so we're the only charcuterie house that makes everything. So we make everything from bacons to sausages to pates to salamis to meatballs. Like there's a lot of things that we make that a lot of people don't see because they're used more in an industrial setting. And then we also make a pet treat. And the reason we make a pet treat is because we buy whole animals from 3 farms, and we always are aiming to be zero waste. And in order to do that, we had to develop a pet treat so that it's like the skin, the bones, and the offal, and it makes a pet treat for us. So yes, I sell even raw meats. So our raw meats, like full pasture raised, regenerative, small farms from Oregon through Deck Family Farms and Malheur Farms. And then there's a farm called California Heritage, which is right on the Oregon-California border. And these are just farmers that we really believe in. We get about 25% of our pork through them, and we buy almost all their herds. And so that's why we had to develop the pet treat and a fresh meat program. So the fresh meat program you can get at Market of Choice and Whole Foods. So this is a newer, not that new, but over the last like 6 years is what we've gotten into. So, but yes, we also have, so we do a whole wholesale business and pates everything. And then we do the web store. So we started a web store back in 2012 and we started it because we had just won a bunch of good food awards. We were going to be in Oprah's, actually it was Savvier. We were in Savvier's top 100 and then we were going to be in Oprah's gift guide. And we're like, we got to have, like, what are we doing? We got to have a good web store. So we threw together a web store. So we've had a web store for a very long time. And so, yeah, we have subscriptions. We do a salami of the month club, a sausage of the month club, pate clubs, charcuterie of the month, which is a combination of them. And it's just like we only make traditional European products. So like that was one of the things that was really important to Elias when we started Olympia Provisions. He was just like, it's really interesting to me that Americans, and when we were looking for charcuterie at that time, you could find like a finocchiona, a sopressata, and maybe a dry cured Spanish chorizo. And Elias is like, that's crazy. In Europe, every town has their own charcuterie. And he's like, why aren't let's like tell the story of like lost recipes. And so like it's really important to us for us. Like you'll never ever see us have a recipe that we haven't found in like history because these were just like all these like dying traditions of ways to make it and recipes are going away. And so when you subscribe to like our Salami of the Month Club or something, you get like a French, an Italian, Spanish, and Greek. So it's all rotations of different varieties of salami. Because it's also like part of it is like it's I find it really exciting when I get to try different countries like saucy Sunday Alsace. Like, oh, whoa, I can try an Alsatian salami. That's so cool. Not very, you don't really get to try that unless you go to Alsace, but now you can. And I think one of our greatest compliments is like when like an Alsatian person or someone from that region is like, oh, it's like being home. And so we really go for traditional. So natural molded, like, Elias is like leaning the leg to 100% lean and just adding fat back, like so traditional. And we're grinding the spices the day we use them still, like, and it's all natural molded. Like, that's one of the things that when Elias and I were trying that charcuterie at the Portland Farmers Market, we were just like, it was rice flour on the outside, like, because most American producers dip it in like kind of a bleach solution and then they dip it in rice flour to give the appearance of mold, which is crazy. And then you can't eat their casings, which is like, it's weird that you're pilling your casings. Like that's part of the experience in a European style salami. And so all ours are like natural hog casings, like everything is very, but yeah, so we try to like through our charcuterie and those clubs, we just basically try to educate people. We give them pairings, we do all sorts of stuff and tell them stories about where it came from. It's a unique club. I love it, but of course I do.
You created it.
I created it.
Well, I have my top 3 favorite items of yours, and I was wondering if you have a favorite.
Okay, I'll tell you mine.
Okay. Yeah.
Saucy Sunday Arl is my favorite salami. It's just pork and sea salt. And the reason I love it, it's the hardest salami we make because if anything goes wrong in the process, you can taste it. And it's also the coolest salami because like different times of the year, it tastes different based off what the pig is eating. So like sometimes, they're eating, yes, corn, sometimes in the winter, but then in the summer, they'll be like finishing on different things and you can actually taste it in the product, which I think is so cool. I also just love how it's just so porky. And then land wrap schinken. A lot of people haven't tried that product of ours. Of course, Elias made me call it land wrap schinken because it's a traditional name, but it's like 26 letters. It's a Swiss country ham, but it's like having lomo and lardo at the same time. So it's the whole loin with the back fat and the skin on top of it, and it's smoked and it's got like a caramelized. It's like I think it's one of the best. We use it in place of prosciutto. It's so good. And then my third, oh, this is like, oh, no, that's easy. Uh, Probably our chicken. Well, this is weird. We forever it's been the pork liver mousse, but we just did a chicken and pork liver mousse, and I think it's slid on top now. So the chicken and pork liver mousse would be my. Our margella is also amazing, but
You have so many things. I had a hard time picking,
Yeah, what are yours?
but I wanted to say things, that I wanted to make sure people will try. But so my favorite sausage is the Lucanica one. So that's the one with
My
like,
dad's recipe,
yeah, with the
which I
orange
should say is my
zest.
favorite.
Yeah, I love that one. It's my favorite one. And I love the sweetheart ham
Oh,
that you do. And so does
yeah,
my daughter. So we eat a lot of it. That's what she takes in
yeah.
her lunch, which is like very nice. She loves it. And then the Frankfurter, of course.
Okay, the
So good.
Frankfurter, I can't.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's hard. Yeah, I think with the Frankfurter, it's like hard to ever eat another Frankfurter once you
You
try it because it's
can't.
got the lemon casing, it's
Yeah.
got fresh garlic in it, and it's how a Frankfurter is supposed to taste. But then you're like, whoa, like I love trying our product next to anyone else's for that to just to be like, well, this is what happens when you use real spices, like real garlic, not all powdered, pre-ground, and it's so good. And that lamb casing, like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing. And the
It's
ham,
delicious.
yeah, that ham.
Yeah. So good. So if people haven't tried those, I would suggest. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to hear a little bit about Olympia Provisions and Prosper Portland. So we'll be right back.
Prosper Portland is the economic and urban development agency for the city of Portland. We focus on building an equitable economy by carrying out a comprehensive range of economic development programs that support small business, improve access to workforce training, and create jobs for Portland residents. Food and beverage manufacturing is a fast-growing industry that demonstrates strong, inclusive growth potential in Portland. It encompasses everything from entrepreneurs just starting out to established companies with international distribution. Prosper Portland works collaboratively with local companies and institutions to help grow priority industries like food and beverage manufacturing. This support takes the form of business retention, expansion, and recruitment visits, industry-specific programming, networking events, business-specific support, and access to capital. To learn how Prosper Portland can help your business, contact Yvonne Smoker, the Food and Beverage Manufacturing Industry Liaison, for more information, and visit prosperportland.us.
Okay, we're back from our break. And since we are working with Prosper Portland for the next few episodes, they provide a lot of different services to a lot of different businesses and some to you. So let's tell people about the different grants and services you've received from Prosper Portland.
The grant I got was the workforce grant agreement. And what it allowed me to do is do additional training, cross training of my staff. So it's kind of like leveling up my staff, which I think is amazing. It literally covers their time. It covered the trainer and any other, like if we had to purchase like a license for the trainer, like to do the class and stuff. So it's been amazing. We just actually completed it 11 days ago. And so everybody got a great training and they're all skilled up, which is amazing. Before that, so I've been with Prosper Portland since probably 2013, maybe. So when we moved into our warehouse on 123 Southeast 2nd, when we got the new location, we found out that it was in an E zone. And I didn't know how awesome that was till I was in an E zone. Because what you end up getting is like the amount of investment that you do, you get in terms of you get tax credits, you get pay property taxes on certain amounts that you've invested. And so it helps you really retain cash while investing. And it's been just such a cool program for us. It's definitely one of the reasons we've been allowed to grow. And yeah, Prosper Portland's been amazing.
Yeah, and one of their goals is to create inclusive economic growth, but also revitalizing central city neighborhoods. And so that's why those programs, have worked for you and your businesses. So if people hear of any of these programs that feel like they'd be a good fit for your business, you can just go to the Prosper Portland website and check out what programs they currently have. And they're constantly changing. So even maybe something that Michelle received, because you've been working with Prosper Portland for quite some time.
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and there was even like a clean industry thing that I ended up like getting. Like, they have so many things. And honestly, even if you don't think like you would qualify, go onto their website and sign up for their newsletter. Like, they send the best newsletters, and it's literally like a listing of all of their offerings and it's just, yeah, that's how I ended up finding the workforce grant.
Yeah.
And I was like, a grant? That's amazing. And so, yeah, and they have access to funding too. They can do loans if you're struggling with your bank. I haven't utilized that yet, but I've worked with them on one that I'm close to pulling.
Yeah, they also have a lot of programs for people who are just starting. I know a lot of our listeners are people who are just currently dreaming up a business, and so they do some different programs where you can get your products tested to figure out if you can sell it through the Food Innovation Center. They have little grant programs for that. So it can be small things and big things. So I would just recommend checking it out. Signing up for that newsletter is the best way to do it.
And I used to teach a course with them at, I totally forgot about this, the development center for restaurants. So they have like also classes, which is like, oh, you're going to start a restaurant, like, and I would teach a class on like how to manage your food cost and how to do this and how to like run a profitable business and that stuff. So they have a ton of classes that I think are really good too.
Perfect. Well, everyone should check it out. At least go sign up for the newsletter because you never know when they'll have something that will help you in your business. So we just have a couple minutes left, Michelle. I always like to ask people what's the best way that they can support you and Olympia Provisions.
I mean, I think obviously purchasing our products and going to our restaurant. I think in general, Portland showing up for restaurants is a thing that needs to happen where it's like our restaurants, I've closed 2 restaurants in the last 2 months, and they're so busy that last month. And Portland loves a brand new restaurant and they love something that's closing, but it's like supporting your restaurants all the time. Like, if there's a restaurant you love, going to it. Like, and that's the same thing about our product too. If you see our product, buy it. It allows us to keep doing what we're doing. And I think, if you want to support the Farmers Network, buy local pork, be willing to pay for pasture raised regenerative pork, because I think what's happened is like the beef industry has done an amazing job at grass fed, and everyone's like, I want grass fed organic beef, or I want pasture raised organic. You don't hear that conversation in pork a lot. What I keep hearing from retailers is that people aren't willing to pay for it. And I'm like, I find that hard to believe because I know I'd be willing to pay for it. I'm sure you'd be willing to pay for good pork. And I know those people are out there, but we're really trying to grow our pasture. Like in the next 3 years, we're trying to be 100% pasture raised regenerative. And we can't get there unless people buy our pet treat and they buy our raw meat. And so it's just like, I thought we started this program a while ago, and we said back then we're going to, within 3 years, be that. But what's happened is I don't have the balance. Like I have to sell the amount of charcuterie that I sell with my raw pork, that I sell with my pet treat. And it hasn't worked out that way. I mean, all of our pork is humane raised, certified, all great pork, but we really want to support small family farms that are regenerative and organic. And we have farmers that want to grow with us and do it, but I can't do it because we're still privately funded. I can't have a freezer full of all the pet treat parts and raw meats and be selling the charcuterie because I don't have that much cash. And so it's like, if people can demand pasture raised pork at their grocery stores, and also just like at their pet, like, if your pet store doesn't carry Olympia Provisions pet treats, ask them to, because it's just 100% pasture raised. There's nothing in there that you wouldn't feed your dog. So,
And if sometimes people just don't know about the pork industry or what's going on, but you guys have a really great informative kind of chart across your website that describes what you're trying to do, what's going on in the pork industry, what you want to bring to all of us. So people can go check it out just so you have the information, so you understand what Michelle is talking about and what they're trying to do with Olympia Provisions, and how you can, and ways that you can support that is by buying their fresh pork and their pet treats. So go check it out so you have more info and can make informed decisions. Michelle, best place to buy from you directly, is that the farmers market?
Portland Farmers Market or Southeast Restaurant on Olympia Provisional on 107 Southeast Washington. Yeah, they have all our products. You might not see them, but you can get anything sliced there. We have a little wall case, but they'll slice any of our products or bacons, anything for you. So yeah.
And what farmers markets can people find you at?
PSU, Milwaukee, Beaverton, and I think Vancouver this year.
Perfect. Well, it was great to have you on the show. I always love chatting with you and hearing
Yeah.
more. I learned new things today, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you.
And thanks to our listeners for tuning into the show. You can find our podcast on iTunes and Apple Podcasts and give us a follow and a rating. You can follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Meaningful Marketplace Podcast. You can always call Sarah and I with questions at 503-395-8858. And we couldn't do this without our fantastic team at Joy of Creation Production House. Thanks to today's producer, Dirk Marshall, and our audio engineer, Haley. We'll be back next week with more Prosper Portland clients and more fun things for you to hear about. See you next week. Bye. If you love the stories we bring you each week, please consider supporting us on Patreon. As an independent media company, your support is absolutely essential. It allows us to continue creating high-quality professional episodes that amplify the voices of women, small business owners, writers, artists, and creatives, and keep their stories free from commercial pressure. By becoming a Patreon member, you're not just supporting us, you're investing in the future of independent media. Please visit patreon.com/The Joy of Creation Production House to join our community today. Thank you for listening and supporting our podcast dreams.